Good evening. I've just realised I've done the video for the post-match Palace game, so I'm really thinking ahead. But good evening, everyone, and welcome to THFC Till I Die, your home at Tottenham, past and present. And boy, oh boy, oh boy, where do we go from here? What a 24 hours it's been. It's been an eventful one. Before we kick into it and get into it with Philip Brady, the Godfather, the usual co-host with me on here, and Elias, who's substituting for Ellie, who's not very well at the moment. So get well, Ellie. Hope you feel better soon. I want to thank Nick Copeland, who's sponsoring this channel, and will be now for the future. So big up, Nick. Thank you so much indeed for everything you do for the channel and sponsoring us. And with me tonight, Philip, how are you this evening, sir? I know you're not too well yourself, so you're not going to be long with us tonight. But how are you feeling so far?
It's just my throat and voice isn't great. I'm feeling okay apart from that, but it's affecting my speech a bit. So that's why I don't inflict myself on you too long, and then I'll slope off about 6:30 or so. But I'm still not pleased after what happened yesterday. I mean, Jesus, that was just not good at all. It was unexpected, to be honest with you. I thought there'd be more commitment, more passion, more energy from the team. There was none of it, and Villa deserved to beat us. There's no other way of saying it.
Yeah. And Elias, how are you this evening? And how are you after yesterday's debacle?
I'm doing good. I'm really grateful and thankful that yes, we have some good friends and this community actually in form of Tottenham fans, and they have really helped me to get over yesterday's result. And I'm looking forward to the positive stuff ahead, really. But yes, these few days have been tough indeed.
Yeah, and look, great to have you guys on. Listen, if you want to get a super chat in, questions to Philip or Elias, you can get that in. And also, if you want to become a member as well, the channel memberships are up on the YouTube channel. And I like a few. Like Wayne Bonner here has got the big badge beside his name. Big up, Wayne Bonner. I have put a poll in the into the chat here, and the question is Conte the right man for Spurs? And at the moment, it's 57% say yes, 43% saying no. So we will give you that. We will give you that poll at the end, and also we've done a poll on Twitter as well. It's the same question, and that's been running now for about a little while now, and 41 votes so far. Is 70.7% say yes, 29.3% say no. So the Spurs fans are behind Conte, as we are, as I am, as Philip, as Elias is. But the board have to back them. Anyway, Wayne Bonner says, interesting poll question with the right players. Yes, absolutely. What we still have, no Levy, won't back him. So the question is, will Conte walk? Could be an interesting summer. Yeah, it could be a very interesting summer. And he says, good evening, everyone. Hope you're all well. Recovered from the shambles yesterday. I don't think so. It's going to take... Thank God there's a game on Wednesday, that's all I'm going to say. But if you want to be like Wayne Bonner, get your memberships and get in first, because we've got a few shows coming up in the new year with members in mind. We've got David Clark. Big up, David. He says, hello from a very depressed Leicester. Yeah. Wayne Bonner, Wembley won. He says, Wayne Bonner could be an interesting summer. What about this month? Or big up Wembley Wonder. Big up, sir. And he's saying Levy out in account. We've got David Clark saying hi to Wayne. I hope you're well. Evening all from Paul G. Big up, Paul G. Thank you for coming. Thank you for joining in. Carl Simpson, big up Carl. He says, Conte's the right person as long as he's back correctly as well. And he also puts, everywhere I turn, Elias is on screen. I am seeing more of him than my wife.
It just tells the bromance between me and Carl.
Yeah. Oh no, Mr. Dyer is on. Lord help us. Oh dear. Oh Lord, that's a good one. I like that one. Where are we now? Oh yeah. Wembley won. Evening, boys. Just think, only just 48 hours from surely another scintillating performance. Oh Lord Jesus, I know. We've got Steve D. Big up Steve D. Says, oi, oi, guys, it's becoming clear I get more enjoyment out of streams than I get out of watching Spurs. Yeah, that could be said after yesterday's, but we are going to get into it. And then Wembley won, spot on, Wayne. And I bet you Levy won't dare show his face at any of the games. And then David Clark says, that's only a mild disease. The biggest disease is Lewis. Well, look, I just want to put something out here first. And we on this channel are very much down the middle. We're very much Conte in, and well, as long as Conte's there, we will back Conte 100%. We're not going to go around and telling people what to do and what not to do. If you leave you out, then you will be respected in this channel, and we will read out your comments and we will respect them. If you leave you in, we'll respect you as well. If you leave you in the middle like us, we will respect you as well. We're not going to go and tell people what to do and what not to do. You're all got your own minds. You can make your own decisions. But on this channel, we are in the middle. We're not one way. We're not the other. We're straight down the middle, and we're supporting Conte and the team. That's it. No shenanigans. No shouting, you should be doing this, you should be doing that. We love the club. Tottenham Hotspur is our club. Levy will be gone. Tottenham Hotspur will be here long after Levy is gone, after Conte's gone, after the players are gone. Bill Nick said that. Let's all just rally round and support Conte and the players. And if you want to go and Levy out, protest, be my guest, do it. I respect your decision. But don't expect us to follow you. We have our own minds and we will make our own decisions. At the moment, we're back in Conte. We're down the middle.
No, poor losing.
Are they?
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah,
True, my...
The goal disallowed about 30 seconds ago, then they've gone and scored another one. So they're giving Liverpool a bit of a taste.
So, look, Phil and me talked about earlier, and it's right though, isn't it, Philip? We are down the middle. We're Conte. We're pro Conte. We're not pro anything else, aren't we?
We are pro Tottenham Hotspur football team. We're pro the staff, the management, the team, and we want them to be successful. The ownership is irrespective, really. If the players aren't producing on the pitch, it's not. Daniel Levy doesn't play in goal for them. He doesn't play centre back. He doesn't play midfield. It's the players on the pitch we should be following. Now, the ownership will take care of itself in due course. There's nothing you, me, or anyone else is going to do about that, I'm afraid. It'll probably take its course, but let's face it, we are stuck with ENIC, like it or lump it, for the next foreseeable future, unless somebody comes in with an offer out of the blue. So in the meantime, let's hope that the board back the manager, as they said they do. If they don't, then I'm afraid at the end of this month, we are going to be in one hell of a crisis. It's whether Conte will want to stay, whether he want to see out the season. And if they don't back him, then I think Daniel Levy is going to be in probably the worst position he's been in 22 years of owning Tottenham. And I don't think he'll survive it. But will the club survive? Will the club survive to go into Europe? We don't want to become another mid-table mediocrity. And at the moment, unless there's investment in the team, that's the way we're heading. Yeah,
but from the other standpoint, Philip, we are just pro Conte and pro the team. We're not pro anything else.
We're pro the team. We want the team to be successful, and that's it. That's my main mantra.
Yeah, and that's it. And I know Ellie will feel the same. I know Izan will feel the same, as well as Mia and Elias as well. They feel the same. Guys, I just wanted to get your player profile, your player ratings on the team yesterday. It was Lloris and Go. I'll read through the team quickly. Lloris and Go, Romero, Longley, Davis, Doherty, Perisic, Bissouma, Højbjerg, Son, Kane, and Hill. Right, Philip, do you want to go first? Do you want to give your out of 10?
Hugo Lloris. Well, I mean, what can you say about him after making? I mean, he played the World Cup, but he kept France in the World Cup with a couple of saves that he made. Then he comes back to the team that pays him and makes an absolute howler, schoolboy error, and that spills a shot that I would have stopped. So I'm giving Hugo a 4. Romero, it was good to see him back. He wasn't fully at his game, although he put in one absolutely brilliant tackle that he got booked for. It was a typical Romero tackle, but unfortunately the referee, either being inexperienced or just plain crap, booked him for it. So Romero, I give a 6. Longley didn't do much wrong, didn't do much right. 6. Ben Davis, 5. Matt Doherty, 5. Perisic, I'd only give him a 5 now. He didn't really do much at all. Bissouma, I'd only give him a 3. He was useless. Absolutely useless. And in fact, he got booked, which now brings him out of the next match, which, maybe give Papa Sarr a bit of a chance to get a game. Højbjerg, probably his worst game of the season. He did not seem to do much right at all. So I'll give him a 4 as well. Heung-min Son barely knew he was on the pitch, and I'm disappointed. The most notable thing Son did during the game was take off his mask and throw it down on the pitch, as if to say, "This is hampering my style. I'm not able to play." So I'll give Son a 4. Harry Kane. Sad to say, Harry looked disinterested yesterday. He just didn't seem to be there. Very, very disappointing. I'll give him a 5. And Brian Hill, we all want Brian Hill to do well, but I don't think he got by his man once. And more or less, I think the Villa fullback had him in his pocket. So I'll give him a 4.
Yeah, I think that's fair. And Elias, what's your ratings for the teams yesterday?
I think I'll give Lloris a 3. Very poor. I think in the first half he was not even just tested, and in the second half he was just poor. I'll give Romero a 5. He was good in some of his tackles. They were clean tackles, but in the first goal when Lloris made that mistake, I think he had to take some blame for it because he just looked a bit not attentive there. Langley didn't do much wrong, and I would give him a 5. Ben Davies, I'll give him a 3. Probably the worst one in the defense yesterday. I'll give Perisic a 5. He was okay. He tried some good balls into the box, but it didn't just work. Matt Doherty, I'll give him a 6. He was good. I think among the back line, he was one of the positive ones, because in the first half he was really just daring to take the balls into the box, and he looked to me good, much better than Royal. Definitely, I'll still prefer him. Bissouma, I'll give him a 3. Very poor. Højbjerg, sadly, it's a 4 because he was just not the Viking that we see every other week. And I would actually give Brian Hill a 6. I think to me the one player that actually stood and who looked good to a certain extent, it was Brian Hill. He was trying his best, definitely, but he is not good enough, I'll say, for his physicality and stuff. But he showed some motivation and some passion on the pitch, which I loved. I didn't like Kane's performance. He looked disinterested, as Philip said. A 5. Son, I'll give him a 4. Useless, really, yesterday.
Yeah. Look, thanks, Elias. Look, for me, Lloris, I'll give a 3. Shocking. Absolutely shocking. I mean, he had nothing to do in the first half, and the first time he's tested, he spills it. Now, why not just push it to the left or try to push it to the right? He pushes it straight back into the open play. So I'll give him a 3. Romero, I'll give a 6. It was great to have him back. Got booked by a diabolical referee. Longley, I'll give a 6 as well. Didn't think he did much wrong. The one pass, I think he did one pass in the second half, which was unreal. Ben Davies, I'll give a 5. I think he was at fault for the second goal. Matt Doherty, I'll give a 5 as well. Didn't do much. Perisic, the same. Bissouma, I'll give a 2. Absolutely terrible. What the hell? I mean, he's been a major disappointment since he's come to the club. Absolutely terrible. Højbjerg, I give a 5. Didn't do much. It's probably, as Philip says, his worst game of the season. And I think it was. Son, I'll give a 4. He was nowhere. As Philip says, the most exciting thing he did was throw his mask on the ground. Harry Kane, I agree with you guys. He did look disinterested. He really did look disinterested yesterday. And Brian Hill, I'm going to give. Harry Kane, I'll give a 5. Brian Hill, I'm going to give a 7. Why I'm giving him a 7 is for the effort he put into yesterday. For the effort he tried. He tried. He was the only one on the pitch that tried. Okay, some of the things didn't come off, but he tried. So that's my play quote. That's my play ratings. David Clark here. I've got a few people to thank you, to welcome in before we carry on. We've got Nick Copeland. Big up, Nick Copeland. Hope you're doing right, sir. He says, hi, I'm just here watching in the background, protecting my investment. Elias, keep it clean, please. No trolling. So you've been told now, Elias. and and we've got David Clark's here. I mean, what do you say to this, Philip? To David Clark's play profiles. Do you agree with them? Because he's been
Well,
quite harsh
they're
on them.
pretty much on the same lines we've been giving more or less. The reason is getting a 1. It's tough, all right. Papasar getting a 7. Well, I suppose Papasar didn't do a huge amount wrong when he came on. But I hope he's done enough to get a place on Wednesday night, because I think I see 90 minutes out of that guy. Højbjerg 3, Perisic. I don't think Perisic was as bad as a 1 now. He wasn't great, but he wasn't a 1. But other than that, yeah, pretty much. Like, let's face it, nobody's scoring 8s and 9s, are they?
No, they're not. They're really not. And also, Wayne Bonnet's put here, I've been a Tottenham fan since 78, 79 when I was 4. My dad and most of my family are THFC. As much as they ignore me at times, I stand by the team and the badge. And the same as us, Wayne. We've got David Clark saying Perisic is going through the motions. He needs replacing in the summer. Son has lost his desire. It may be time for him to move on while we can still get money for him. Philip, I'll start with you. Do you agree with David Clark?
Yeah. No, I don't totally agree with that. I think Perisic will be a valuable player for us. Like, I watched his performances in the World Cup, and he was playing much further forward than he does for us, but he was effective. And I think if we can play him in that slightly advanced role, I think he can do a job for us. I know he's 33; he's never going to tear up any trees, but I think Son is worrying. I mean, Son went for such a brilliant season last year to not been able to buy a goal this time. I mean, 3 goals this season for Son by this year, isn't it? By the start of the year, it's not good. Not good. So I don't know what the solution to Son is. I think it's a spell on the bench. I mean, to put him on the bench and bring him on, he did against Leicester. We'll take a bit of that. But I think maybe he deserves, when Richarlison comes back, Son, maybe just give him a rest for a while.
Yeah. Also, guys, I wanted to talk through Conte's press conference yesterday. Now, the press conference, I watched it last night, and it was very interesting, this press conference. And I'll read out the press conferences. Now, what I'll do, I'll read out one, then I'll go to you, Philip, with one, then Elias, I'll go with you with the other. So, Philip, I'll start with you in this one. He was asked about the performance, and he said, about the performance, I'm not disappointed. From the start to the end, I've seen the right commitment and desire and intensity. They need to run. If you ask me, football is a bit strange. If you ask me, we dominated the game in the first half. We didn't create a chance to score because we found a team that's defended really deep. Do you think he was watching the same game as us, Philip, or was he making a good point here?
No, I mean, okay, if you break that game down into segments, the first 10 to 15 minutes, Villa looked like the more brighter team. They were coming forward at it. For the mid part of the first half, we took control of the ball. We were possession. I think the possession went from something like 70-30 in Villa's favour to something like 60-40 in ours in the space of the first half.
Yeah.
And at the start of the second half, I timed in 4.5 minutes before Villa got across the halfway line at the start of the second half. We were really on top at that stage. But then they went and got the goal from Lloris's mistake, and we never, ever recovered from that. So it was a strange game. We dominated the game up till they scored. That's what I'd put that. After they scored, we didn't dominate anything. And we didn't create a chance because we haven't got the midfield players to make it. We really have. We've got 2 of the best strikers in the world on the pitch, and we've nobody to make the bullets for them. It's sad. No. It is, really. And it really defended, but that's an Unai Emery team. He's never lost to Tottenham in all his time managing England.
No. He hasn't.
It's a sad statistic because to me he looks like something. He looks like he reminds me of one of these extras in a Dracula film. I don't know why. Don't ask me why now, but
yeah, I know you. I see where you're getting at with that one.
Yeah, you see that.
Yeah. I mean, Elias, look, he was asked about the squad. He says we have 4 players and we have Lucas and Hill, who is a young player. But in my opinion, he played a good game. Then you have Kane, Son, Kulusevski, Richarlison. If you have these injuries, it becomes difficult. Sonny has to continue to improve, and it's difficult. What do you think he was protecting the players yesterday, or do you think he may have said one thing to them and he's saying something completely different to the media?
I personally feel yes. To your first question, I think he was protecting the players a bit because yesterday after what happened I feel that players needed that, because the next comment you can see already, he's talking about that warm
mm,
atmosphere in the stadium,
mm,
which is not good for the player. He said he himself said that if I was a player,
mm,
I understand when the fans are not patient. We need to improve in any aspect.
mm,
So basically, he's saying that such atmosphere does affect the players
mm.
mentally. I feel more than anything else. So he
Yeah.
had to encourage the players a bit. He had to protect them. But I think in the dressing room, his comments might be different. And definitely the injuries and all that. I think that game was not that good. I agree with you. Brian Hill was the only outstanding one on the pitch. Other than that, I feel that everybody lacked the purpose. Why?
Mm,
Like I think the rest didn't even know why. What are they doing on the pitch really?
mm.
So to some extent, I kind of understand why Conte said that.
Yeah. I mean, Philip, look, he's also says talking about the warm environment after the first goal. I think the players can feel the warm atmosphere. I was a player. I
Whoa.
understand it. When the fans are not patient, we need to improve in my aspects. Look,
And
the fans have a right to vent their anger or their frustration on the players if they're not playing, Philip. And we've seen enough for Tottenham during the years ourselves. We've seen some good teams, we've seen some bad teams. Do you think the fans, and it was put to him yesterday, do you think in the summer we were being tipped as title contenders? Do you think certain part of the media built us up too much and then fans have bought into it? And now
I
because
think,
things are not going too well, that their expectations were so high that Conte has to try to bring us down to where we should be.
well, listen, the fans yesterday, I'm the last person to complain about the Tottenham fans, but I'm afraid,
Mm,
where were they yesterday when the team needed them? It was like the Villa fans were the only ones who were making any noise, and that was before they scored. The Spurs fans seemed to take a day off last night, yesterday. They seemed to be just sitting there watching the game. Maybe they were suffering from a bit too many pints over Christmas or whatever. But it's games like that, home games, where the atmosphere should be scary for the opposition.
yeah.
Like we've been in that game. I've been in that stadium there, where the noise from the Spurs fans is frightening. But
Mm,
yesterday, for whatever reason, it just wasn't there. Maybe it's because there was an awful lot of non-fans at the ground. Maybe people, tourists buying tickets for Christmas and getting in ahead of the real fans who don't really make a noise. You just sit there and watch. But certainly there
yeah.
was something wrong with the atmosphere yesterday. And for Conte to say the atmosphere was warm, we must have had a blow heater on them or something in the dugout, because it was anything but warm. It was very frosty after that goal went
I,
in.
I,
You
I
know.
think what he means by warm, Philip, I think he felt the tension in within the fan base. He felt the tension
Well,
within the
yeah,
stadium.
warm wouldn't be a word I'd use to describe
Yeah,
tension. I would say frost would be the better way of putting it.
yeah,
But
yeah,
no, I just felt like yesterday that when we needed the fans, I'm afraid they took a day off. Now, hopefully, they're going to be
yeah,
back, because the next couple of home games are really vital for us, against
yeah. They
Portsmouth in
are.
the Cup, and then against a sudden, whatever you call that crowd from down the road, which will remain
Mhm.
unnameless. But
Yeah,
if the crowd
I
don't
don't.
turn up for that, then we haven't got it. We may give up, I think.
Yeah, and then lines. Look, I'm finishing top four. It says for the potential of the club, I continue to repeat that we made a miracle. It happened. Why? Because we played with only one competition with 12, 13 players. They didn't have injuries in the last 15 games, and we played only the best players. Arsenal were only 4 points up, finishing 20 points less than Manchester City. We did a miracle. I know the situation. I don't want to talk about the fans' expectations. I know the vision of the club. The club knows very clear about my thoughts. Look, how many? Which one is Conte playing a game with the board and with the board here over the transfers? Could this backfire on him if it continues going, or is he just saying, "Look, I know the vision of the club. The club knows mine. I'm happy at Tottenham. I'm happy how it's going. Just give us a bit of time, and we will get it right." Or is he trying to say something else? Do you think?
First of all, I like to say one thing. It's Conte's words, yeah, that he said that he feels that the top four last year was a miracle. It's not my words, because I was misquoted on another channel just earlier on for saying that. It's Conte's word that he is saying that it was a miracle. In a way, we were lucky that actually we made top four. I personally feel that we were not lucky. We put in that effort there. And to answer your question, Dermot, I think in a way, yes, there are a lot of psychological tricks going on. There's psychological games going on between the club, between the press and Conte. everything, because it looks like we have to read a lot between the lines. You just can't take it literally. I mean, if you were to take this whole statement literally, I think nobody would believe it. No person who watched the game yesterday would believe what Conte is saying if you were to take every single comment literally. So a lot of these things are hard to understand. Like, okay, now the second thing that he said about the 12, 13 players, I think that the time at the end of the season when we finished it, we were in a worse state than what we are right now. You didn't have Romero, you didn't have Doherty, you didn't have even Pape Matassa was not there. You didn't have even Bissouma. You had Skip injured at one point. You had a injury scare for Bentancur. You had Kulu had a scare, I think, even if I'm not mistaken, for one
Mhm.
of the games. You had Romero out, and we were really struggling in some of those games. And yet they did put in that those kind of performances to make it till the top four. So what is Conte trying to say? Is he trying to say that right now the players that he has are not good enough to play 2 games a week? Is that what he's trying to say? I think I would very much like to believe that maybe he wants a bit of quantity in the squad rather than the quality, but we need that quality on the pitch, on the ground, and that's what's lacking at the moment. I see a lack of desire, lack of motivation in the entire team at this point in the game, and
Yeah.
I must say that over this statement, questions must be raised on Conte. Like, what's the basis of these comments as well? What is he trying to say?
I mean, Philip, I mean, yeah, fair play to your analyst for it. He said, look, Philip, look, I'm the first one to come out and say we were lucky to get top four last season. Things just went our way.
Mm.
Is he trying to say now to the board, look, to Paratici and the people that are in charge of the transfers, look, he said, I need two players a season worth 50, 60, 70 million. And then we can buy the younger players with potential.
Yeah.
If we were to give him that, do you think Conte will be happy to sign the contract and stay at Tottenham?
If he's backed to the level he wants to be backed at, yes, he will stay. And this reported meeting that took place today, which probably in a way would not have taken place if we'd won yesterday.
Mm.
You know, as would probably a lot of the protests wouldn't have taken place if we'd won yesterday. But the fact that we've lost now is, you know, put the whole thing back in the melting pot. If this meeting today is successful and Levy agrees to open the purse strings to allow Conte get who he wants, or try to get who he wants. I mean, trying to get them and getting them there's a lot between us. Like I hear that Pedro Porro is almost done. That would be a huge statement if we got him. And if we get Frank Kessie from Inter Milan, that would be an even bigger statement because he's the midfield player.
15 million,
what?
Philip?
15 million.
Yeah.
That's not big money. That's huge. That's buttons. So we could get those two players for around 50 million. That would go a long, long way. The A, satisfying the fan base. B, keeping Conte happy. And if we can get a centre-half to come along with it, happy days. Those three players could be the springboard we need to keep Conte and be successful at the end of the season. But if we don't get any players, the doubt is going to continue. Come the 1st of February, Conte will not sign that contract.
Yeah. Well, look, it's going to be an interesting summer. But look, guys, I want to actually ask you about this. I want to continue on that. There was reported, as Philip said, a crisis meeting between Levy, Conte, and Paratici today. Now, will the result of this meeting lead to Conte being backed, or does he walk? Look, in my opinion, I think Conte will be here next season. Now, there's a lot of people saying he won't be. I think he will be, because I think Levy will back him in this market. As you said, the Pedro deal is nearly done with reports of that. Looks like we're going after Kessie as well for 15 million. There's also talks that they're going to do a double. There's reports that they're looking at the double of Defy and the two Inter Milan players as well.
Dumfries.
Yeah, Dumfries. Philip, I'll start with you, Philip, and then I'll go to you, Elias. If them players come in, could this be a really great window for us?
Yeah, it would. Of course it would. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, most of those players you mentioned played in the World Cup. In the case of Porro, it's played against us twice for Sporting Lisbon. And there's also, don't forget, there's also the rumour of a Marcus Edwards, that we have a 50% buyback on him, so we can buy him for 30 million. So if they come to fruition, happy days. But I think it's the fact that we know what Levy can be like, and will he live up to the promises? Will he dig into secret bank account that he has and divvy up for
Yeah.
the players? That is the huge question. If he does,
Yeah.
we've every reason to be positive. If he doesn't, we don't.
No, that's it. Well, I know, Philip, you have to go. I know
You
this is a
have
very
to go,
short
well,
show tonight. Listen, you're back on. We're back tomorrow. Hopefully, you'll be back with
yeah,
us tomorrow. For the for the pre-match for the Palace game. But
yeah.
thanks, Philip,
I'm
for
not
coming
going
on.
anywhere tomorrow, so I'm around tomorrow.
Yeah. Okay, lovely,
Okay.
Philip. Thank you very much indeed. And I'll speak
Okay,
to you
lads.
later,
All
Philip.
the
Thank
best.
you. Take
Talk to
care
you later.
now.
Bye, lads. Bye.
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 Bye. There goes Philip, the Godfather. Elias, look, there was this meeting today between Paratici and Conte and Levy. Do you think it would have happened anyway, but because of the loss yesterday, as Philip said, it's now been highlighted? Or do you think this was just booked in, they were going to have a meeting anyway?
Well, I think certainly the transfer window has just started.
Mm,
You have it makes much more sense for them to have meeting, I think, regardless of the
mm,
result of yesterday's game. But I think it has been highlighted in the media slightly more now due to the fact that what's
mm-hmm,
going on in the stadium and around it. Imagine that the window has just started. Here, the manager, the footballing director, and the director needs to come to certain agreement. Like, what's the strategy for the transfer window? Because previously you are preparing for a Villa game and all that, New Year's break and all that. So I think the timing is just right. I feel for that sort of a meeting to take place because the window is starting and all that. So I don't think it's so much about that Conte walking away and all that. But even if we were to consider it to that extent, I guess that's the kind of meeting where probably they would reconcile some of the
mm-hmm,
things with each other. They would see that okay, that's my vision, that's what my take is on, and that's what meetings is all about. Communication is very important. So I think communication is better rather than thinking of it as a worst thing, rather than thinking that oh okay is it going to be a sack, because I feel it always helps when you communicate with each other. So it's a positive thing rather than a negative one to look at
yeah.
this meeting.
I think so too. I really do. Look, I want to go through some news with you, Elias, and we've got some news here. Tottenham news today. We talked about the meeting. Now the other one is actually about Tottenham Hotspur. Sky Sports main claims takeovers is miles away. Now this is a man called Thomas, one of the reporters for Sky Sports, and he says Thomas was asked on Sky Sports Live Transfer Centre blog if now was the right time for ENIC to sell Spurs, with the frustration bobbling over following their 2-0 loss against Villa. And this is what he said. He said, I think we are some way off from that happening. The naming rights for the stadium is the priority in terms of business, and that will help bring in a sizable influx of money into the club. Look, I don't want to go down this road of ENIC and Levy out. Where do we stand? Because we know where we stand in that,
Yep.
both of us. But should with no naming rights being put on the club at the moment, does that give a potential new owner, or say if a Google or Amazon came in, say for example, they might want to take the club off Enix and Levy's hands, because of the NFL we have there played twice a year and what we can do at the stadium. Is it more? Is the club more look more better from investing and as a brand name than it was before? If you know what I mean. Sorry.
Yeah, I think you're talking a lot about the branding terms and
Yeah.
the sales. I think I agree with him that right now, if you were to consider the sale of the club, we are miles away,
Mm,
seriously. Because if you look at it, there are other fan base who are extremely unhappy with their club as well, and they are under much more pressure, and they are linked with other parties. For example, Man United,
mm,
they have had offers, or people have claimed that yes, they want to buy. Liverpool right now they are losing to Brentford 2-0.
mm,
They are under a lot of pressure because they are even below us in the league right now,
mm,
despite having a big money spent on their transfers, and they have quality in the squad. Their manager has less excuses to make than our managers. So they are also being questioned, and they are under that pressure to make that sale away. And they are
mm.
established names, and I think their market value is higher than us as well.
Yeah.
So they are probably high up. But let's just say, I mean, somebody come in and say that, oh, okay, Tottenham, because they are a good club, they are
Mm,
already having a good project. I want to invest into this
mm,
because it's slightly cheaper compared to Liverpool and Man United. Slightly, it's slightly more like, let's say, a Newcastle sort of a takeover. I would say it can happen, it's possible, but still, I personally feel that we are miles away. At this point of time, it's tough to sell a club. I mean, we all saw what happened with Chelsea. They struggled to make the sale, really, until the last moment. But they were under those kind of circumstances where they had to push for an emergency sale. They
Yeah.
struggled.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, people seem to forget Abramovich would not have sold Chelsea if it wasn't for what happened elsewhere. And I think it was once that started, then it was inevitable that he would have to sell Chelsea. If that didn't happen, he would still be the owner of Chelsea right now. Yeah. We don't know if he'd have sold or not. Look, the thing is, we have to back Conte. We have to back him in the transfer window. We have to get behind him. When the team is in trouble, we have to back the team. And look, Graham Souness here, who is actually an ex-Tottenham youth player. He started his career at Tottenham before he was sold up to Middlesbrough, before he went there to Liverpool. And he was saying he had his article, I think, in the Daily Mail today, and he lays into 2 Tottenham players after the Villa loss. And he puts the players just gave up. But he says, I'm not a big fan of Lloris. I have to say it I have said it for a long time. I think he since the start of last season, he's made 4 errors. Just have to leave that left the goals. And then continued saying that's the worst in the Premier League for goalkeepers. For me, he's only past his sell-by date. Elias, look, we all know we're going to need. Big up Nick Copeland. I hope you're doing all right. He says I'm away. See ya. Big up Nick. Thank you for coming in. What big up David Clark as well, and big up to Corey Boy.
Yep.
Look, where do we need to go on the goalkeeper front? I mean, we all know we need an upgrade on Lloris. Look, I think Bazuna, for me, the Irish goalkeeper would be a great fit for us.
Okay.
For yourself, where do you think we need to go? Where do we need to look to upgrade on Lloris?
I think we definitely need a goalkeeper who is good with his reflexes. I personally feel that our defense really need good reflexes to help them behind. We are struggling there, really. Our goalkeepers Lloris just doesn't have good reflexes. That used to be his strength back then. And I agree, he's past his sell-by date, really. He is struggling, really. Man, I mean, the amount of errors that he has been making, one might joke about the butterfingers and all that. And I mean, he even made Kane look kind of bad that he missed a penalty against him. Really.
Yeah.
So stuff like that, it just highlights what sort of struggle is that. So I'm a big fan of Martinez, especially. I think I've said it before in one of the streams as well, that if Martinez can be bought, I would go for him. The other one I love is the Leeds United goalkeeper, who is Melier. I would go to an extent. Melier is the kind of player I would really love him to really step into Hugo's shoes. Big up Carl Simpson for putting that in. Yeah. I would love to see him not just as Tottenham number 1, but as a French number 1 as well. He can be Hugo's successor. He is the kind of goalkeeper that Hugo used to be during his prime days. I really like him. And the other player who I would love to bring in is Livakovic.
Yeah.
These are some of the names these are the kind of goalkeepers that I would go for. And if, let's say, with the Levy vision, we want to go for a slightly cheaper signing, we want to go for a slightly more budgeted signing. There's one goalkeeper I highlighted yesterday. He plays in the championship. No, he plays in League One, the one below championship. Michael Cooper. He had a great performance against Chelsea in the FA Cup. And many people say, oh, it's a one-off performance or something. But he also won a Golden Glove in the second tier of the championship. Despite the fact that his team didn't do very well, he had a lot of clean sheets to his name. So it just tells the quality of that sort of a player that you can invest into it as a backup, perhaps. I would like to focus on these players because they are good in their reflexes. Big up, Ali.
Yeah, look, big up Ellie as well. And I hope you're feeling better, Ellie. Ellie's not well at the moment, so big up Ellie, and we hope we'll see you back on here soon. And the ladies' show will be back next week. And we've got a few other bits and pieces Ellie and me will be doing together. Corey's gone for the young lad from Gink. It's quality. Yeah, that's not a bad shout, actually. We've got Carl Simpson says Messler or the dream is oblique. Yeah, that's another good shout. Yeah. And David Clark's put Martinez or oblique. Look, I quite like oblique. I quite like Martinez myself. I think he's got that sort of, he's a wind-up merchant. So you can see him ready. He will get the crowd going. But look, Luis, for me, is past his sell-by date. I think Luis needs to go. He was captain yesterday. What did he do as captain? He didn't do anything. Look, we just have to say what it is. We've got Dave Hotspur, big up Dave. He says Melissa was poor when we played Leeds, couldn't deal with crosses. That's actually a very good point. And we saw him before the World Cup, and he did not have a good game. It says Messi is young, but he has some bad habits. They are basic errors, the same as Lloris. That's true. What a stressful 9 days it's been for me and the family. Corey boy, let me know privately what's going on, brother. And Carl Simpson says Ellie's kicking down the door and smashing the Conte out. And Ellie goes, Missler, I meant not smellier. We know what you meant, Ellie. We know what you meant.
Yep.
Look, for me, I would go for Bazunu. Because he's our goalkeeper for Ireland. I still think his distribution is absolutely out of this world, and I've seen him a few times, and I will continue. But Martinez as well, for me. Now, another bit of news came in, and he was continuing about the goalkeeper, and then he turned his attention to Basuma and Harry Kane. Now, analysing the goals Spurs conceded as soon as picked out Basuma and Lloris as the two players he was unhappy with. Harry Kane loses it for the second goal, bad area. It's a great ball from McGinn, and it really was. It was a brilliant goal from McGinn. And the first and second touch is absolute delight. Great goal. Basuma just gave up on it. He was bored watching. I agree with him. Half that team yesterday were not playing for Conte.
Very
now,
passive.
Is that something we need to be worried about? Or is that something that it was just New Year's Day is one of them things? Against Palace, we could turn up and win. What do you think? Do you agree with Graham Souness that Basuma just gave up, and half the players yesterday just gave up?
Why give up, really? I think if you're an athlete, I've been an athlete myself. I used to play badminton, and I think one thing that when you start from the grassroots level, you are told not to give up. You need to fight till the end. And in many sports, we have seen results like that. I mean, the way Bergwijn played last season against Leicester, if he would have given up and in the last few minutes, would we have won that game? I don't think so.
No.
Why give up? I mean, giving up is not an excuse really that one can use, and I feel that the players were just too passive from the beginning of the game. There was lack of motivation, lack of clarity, and I feel even Conte didn't look that dedicated in the game the way we used to see previously, the way he used to shout and all that. I mean, yes, we did see some touchline action, but it was not there. I mean, we have all seen Conte before. And the other thing that Philip brought up was like, where were the fans yesterday? I mean, we all claim to love Tottenham Hotspur, but where were the fans yesterday? Conte has asked this for that our home stadium should be our fortress. Where were the fans as well? And all these things played a big part in players' performance. It was reflected in the players' performance. They were just demotivated with whatever was going on the pitch, and it was sad to see, really.
Look, David Clark puts it. Where was it? Oh yeah, here it is. He says, Ellie. So when we win, it's Conte, but when we lose, it's the players. No, if this is rubbish, what's happening on any other manager, we'll be slaughtering them. But because Spurs are desperate to keep. Look, David Clark. Look, Dave. I understand what you're saying, but when the players cross that white line, it's 100% the players. The manager can only do so much. The manager can't go out there and play in the middle of the pitch and play in the midfield or up front or be a goalkeeper. It's the same with the owners as well. Yep. The owners, it's not Levy's fault that Lloris made the mistake yesterday.
Yep.
Or Dyer is bad or Dyer is bad or Sanchez is bad. That okay, we bought the players, but Levy or the manager can't help them when they perform on the pitch. So for me, you have to blame the players 100%. They have to take responsibility. They're the ones out there doing the performance at 90 plus minutes. So look, I understand what you're saying, Dave. I rarely do, but it's down to the players. It's down to them. They have to take responsibility. And then for anything outside of that, then yeah, you can blame the manager. The manager will take some heat, but the players have to take the majority of the heat because they're the ones playing on that pitch.
Yep.
Just so we're going for too much long, go for another 10 minutes or so, Elias. There's another bit of news as well on the referee. Now, yesterday, the referee was absolutely atrocious. I don't know where to start. I don't know if he was unexperienced, as Philip Brady says the other day, or whatever. Look, where do you go with these referees and VAR this season? I mean, we had 3 of our back 3 booked within the first half. So what needs to change? Are we just unlucky with the referees this season? Because we seem to get in all the bad decisions, and other teams are getting away with them.
Yep. Look, this is a tough one, really, because like Mourinho says, if I speak, I'll be banned. I'm just kidding. But I mean, the thing is that these referees, I don't know where do they get them from. We have been really unlucky with many decisions, except in the Chelsea game, the one that we got away at the bridge. Other than that, I think we have been pretty unlucky with a lot of these referee decisions. And I think Premier League should have a bit of transparency in their style as well. Like these are some things where Premier League should be a bit more clear. Like where is the transparency? Like the discussions that take place between VAR and the ref, for example. It was once even said before this season that the conversations that take place between VAR and the referee would be recorded and they will be public, and they will like the audience can even listen to it what's happening if you're watching on TV. But where is that rule now? Like why is it not happening? Where is that transparency even for the referee decisions? So it is quite ridiculous the way these decisions go about. Like 3 of your center backs are booked. Your defensive midfielder, who clearly plays as a defensive midfielder, is booked because Bissouma, compared to Højbjerg, is the one who lie a bit deep. Højbjerg sometimes play a bit further up if it's Højbjerg and Bissouma. So that was ridiculous. Seriously, why on earth?
Yeah, I will. Well, listen, Elias, we're going to end it there. Look, that was it was a painful watch. It really was a painful watch.
Yep,
but we will end it there. I want to thank everyone who's came in. I want to thank Philip Brady, yourself, and everyone in the chat. We are back tomorrow at for the pre-match show for the Palace game. Then we're on with the watch along back on Wednesday. I want to thank everyone in the chat. So please get your memberships on the way out. It really does help. Okay, well, we'll end it there. A bad day for Spurs, but Spurs will come back. We always do. In Conte we trust. Tottenham till our die.
We trust.